Welcome, Hexicans and Poseidons. We got a special guest for you guys today. We got this put together, fortunately, with a couple community members like Toby Wan and John Wick, as most of you guys have been familiar with those gentlemen since the beginning of the Hexican adventure. I'm going to go ahead, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring these guys up. We've got Brendan Walsh and JD, which is John from ErisX. So I'm hoping you guys can give us just a little, what we're in search of here at this point in time is some tools that can help Hexicans and possibly some where it touches the legacy finance. And so we're pretty excited to hear a little bit more about this. I purposely didn't do a lot of research on this because I wanted you guys to pitch me and sell me and the Hexicans on what it is that you have in the way of a value proposition. So if you wouldn't mind, Brendan, would you mind introducing yourself first?
Sure. I'm Brendan Walsh. I've been at RocketDollar for 3 years now. So what RocketDollar is, real briefly, that we're going to get into today, is helps people put alternative assets like crypto into a retirement account. So I used to be a financial advisor doing traditional financial advice. It's kind of a dying industry. Was helping people on their 401k as well. What really excited me about coming to RocketDollar is that 401ks and IRAs have been in very boring investments. However, just through government rules, they get some of the most and best tax advantages. So something facing the crypto community right now that I've been helping with kind of as the crypto DeFi specialist is that a lot of people are getting killed in crypto taxes. How can you put some of this stuff into a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA? And John will introduce himself in a little bit here, but part of why we brought ErisX in is just they're one of the fastest exchanges to get some of these IRA crypto accounts open.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Thanks for the intro, Brendan. And thank you for that. And great intro, by the way. I like the DeLorean and Back to the Future intro.
So a lot of people do. There's those that either love it or those who hate it. And so,
I was a fan.
And we like them both. So yeah, it's perfect.
John Denza, I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for ErisX. Everything that falls under my responsibilities includes sales, account management, business development, creating new product. I've been with the firm just under 3 years myself. And prior to my time here at ErisX, my roles have been with different exchanges and capital markets. I started my career almost a little over 20 years ago at Island ECN, working in sales, basically promoting the ATS at the time for equity transactions. And then I've also spent time at Instinet and then NASDAQ. And then before I joined ErisX, I was with BATS and CBOE promoting equities and equities and options, I should say. And then I would say probably 5-6 years ago, I started looking into crypto and investing into crypto and just kind of fell down the rabbit hole. And I was fortunate to find ErisX. And we're focused on spot and futures for cryptocurrencies.
That's great to hear. I really appreciate that. Thanks for the background. I think that gives a lot of credence to where you guys came from, where you guys see the industry going, and why you guys wanted to jump on board with where this industry is going, because I think you guys see the future potential. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be doing what you're doing right now. So at the time that you were working with the CBOE, I just have a quick question regarding that. So were they looking at digital assets at that time? Because I know Gensler has swapped places. Now that he's part of the SEC, or head of the SEC, he wants it to fall under equities and securities now instead of before he wanted it to be assets when he was part of the CBOE. So can you give us a little bit of background on that?
Yeah, my time just missed. I would say that I was probably missed it by about 6 months to a year, where they launched the futures product. And unfortunately, they launched the futures product, and soon after the CME launched their futures product. But I think that the captive audience on CME was a better fit. And obviously, they've had tremendous success. And the CBOE has pulled back and decided to delist that product, I think maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Any personal thoughts from you guys before we get into talking shop here, and I get to hear your marketing pitches, but is there any personal thoughts that you guys have along the lines of whether crypto assets should be commodities or equities?
I'm going to let you take the first, and then I'll follow up with you.
Well, I'll give a much simpler answer instead of being very specific here. Is a lot of our crypto investors we're not a CPA at Rocket Dollar. However, a lot of people are coming to us to see if they can find some type of tax shelter for this asset because the taxes are so damn complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the technology that's coming out, there seems to be a very simplistic or kind of like something that needs a surgery needle, and you just got a giant regulation hammer finally coming in and smashing everything. So I would really appreciate a much finer touch on the regulation side. That's a constant frustration. I talk to hardcore crypto investors every day. The great majority of those people are trying to pay their taxes on time. They're trying to make everything clear. They're trying to get everything into the government, and it's become very, very difficult. So the regulators have been sitting in the back of the, farther back and kind of biding their time on this. I think giving some more clear answers on this stuff would help a lot of investors, work well with their own taxes and their own finances.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me personally, having spent so much time in capital markets, the transition over to crypto really was me almost feeling like we're in the first inning here, because I see the parallels having been in capital markets for so long, where there's market fragmentation, issues with routing, issues with buying power and so forth. And those parallels are going to get solved in cryptocurrencies, especially if we expect institutional adoption. We expect these larger players to come into the space. You look at a BNY, and a BNY has 43 trillion in assets under management. When they say they're getting into crypto in Q4 and custodying coin, that speaks volumes of where this market's going to go and the type of participants that we want into the marketplace. And then to go back to your point about where I think the regulation fits, at ErisX, we believe it's under the commodities, because our exchange rule filing for futures and spot are both filed with the CFTC. And I think that's kind of where the struggle is too. We look at what's going on with Genza right now, and how, nothing against the CFTC, but we're waiting for a new department head to come in and really show us what direction we want to go in. And right now, there's a little bit of confusion in the space on where we're going to be going. I think Genza's catching a lot of that spotlight.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a natural progression into what it is that how you guys work together and what you guys are offering along these lines of especially when we speak to the unclarity as to how crypto is truly going to be taxed, how it's going to fit with regulation. And so I'd like to hear more about, can we start with you, Brendan, with Rocketdollar, and how this can be a potential, at least one tentacle of the octopus for solutions as to what hexagons can use to help diversify the portfolio and maybe minimize some tax.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit of history of the space is that, we are a self-directed IRA provider, which a lot of people think, hey, do I just do my own stocks with that? But really what that's talking about, a self-directed IRA, is an IRA that you could put into almost any asset class. So a lot of our customers, just to give the crypto audience some clarity, a lot of old school investors were real estate investors. A lot of them were gold investors. Some invested early into startups. You'll hear stories about Peter Thiel and Mitt Romney kind of using these styles of accounts to invest in assets that are not decided on by Wall Street. They say, hey, I know this is a very good business model, a very good asset class. I really want to invest in it. And someone would take a look in their retirement account and they'd see 0 options presented by a Wall Street IRA or 401k. So a lot of people have gone to these self-directed IRAs, said, I see real estate down the street. I see precious metals. I see a certain startup. And now recently, crypto has continued to grow. So there's been a lot of demand to add crypto options to both standard stocks and bonds custodians like TD Ameritrade, but also much more crypto purely focused options like, can I have crypto in an IRA and go access this DeFi project? Can I go for a crypto that's maybe a little bit harder to get on a certain exchange? And what options there are right now in the last few years have really been very limited. There might be a crypto IRA that can access like a few different cryptos, and that's it. And the fees are outrageously high. And they're like, okay, we checked this box, we're done. Crypto audience, you happy? And the crypto audience is like, are you kidding me? I have few options. I can't do anything with this crypto. Your fees are outrageous. I am in no way satisfied with what you're currently giving us. So and a lot of custodians have just said either not allowed crypto altogether or been very slow to adopt it and new features. So part of the reason that we, partner with ErisX is, hey, they're doing things the right way. They can get accounts open quickly. They're continuing to expand their coin lineup. And also really understanding the certain complexities of a crypto IRA, what it can and cannot do. Some of that nuance is just kind of lost at some custodians that don't want to learn about the asset class. They don't, they want crypto customers, but they don't really want to cater to the crypto audience in any way. They just say, okay, we have gold assets. Let's just offer it the same exact way. So part of our partnership has been, really working on those specific rules, getting accounts open quickly for customers and really paying attention to this retirement crypto audience and their needs.
I got a quick question on that. So I believe, what was it, Peter Thiel that had put his in a Roth IRA, put his ownership of PayPal, and now it's worth like $5 billion. And now there's a lot of uproar on Capitol Hill over whether that should have been legal, which I think there's nothing wrong with it. There was no value to it at the time that he put it in the vehicle. He made under the max amount that you could earn every year to qualify for a Roth IRA. Do you see this becoming under attack when people get outsized gains versus the market in the future?
Yeah, there has actually been a lot of legislation topic about it. Part of that was really, I feel like it's a response to Peter Thiel's IRA. So, people like Peter Thiel have been using this IRA, but the great majority of our customers make well below $400,000. Some people are coming to this IRA with $10,000, $6,000. Even starting their first IRA for the first time. So, when it comes to the rules of these accounts, there are very specific rules that you can and you can't break. Peter Thiel ones on PayPal was pushing it a little bit as more laws have come out and more analysis has come out. But he also, the one that really blew it up was his Facebook one right after that. So he made some on PayPal. The Facebook one really sent it off to the stratosphere. His Facebook one had absolutely zero issues. He didn't work at the company. There's honestly no problem that, they ever could have had with that investment. PayPal, it was a very, early on in the process. What they're trying to do is they're trying to shut down people investing into their own companies. But I really think they're being too aggressive on it. They're trying to basically lock out everything for accredited investors and would really hurt a lot of different alternative asset classes. In my opinion, these accredited investor rules, they've been holding a lot of our investors back. We have a lot of crafty investors that are ready to go into deals. They are educated. They are willing to learn, and they have been willing to take tests to self-accreditate themselves. And a lot of times they're held back. So I'm happy the accreditation rules have opened up a little bit from the SEC in the last few years. This legislation seems like it would ruin all that progress. We've suddenly seen progress. The legislation was smashed away. It's just going to push people back to Wall Street approved assets, a lot of stocks and bonds, and people have been really trying to access a lot more assets than just that. Many of our customers, as I said, making well below 400,000 that have a hunger for these different assets.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about that, but I won't go off on the tangent of what a scam I think the accredited investor and how it pushes it back to institutional money and brokerages to be able to participate. So I'll stay out of that, but I do want to know, John, more on your end from ErisX. What is the role that you guys play in tandem with RocketDollar?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a great partnership going on right now where we're able to onboard their clients through their entity accounts that they've created with RocketDollar. And I think one of the differentiators, I would say, has been time to market, which Brendan has highlighted before. We have an onboarding team that's available 7:30 to 7:30 Monday through Friday Central Time. And what's unique about ErisX, and I don't think you're going to find this at the other exchanges, when you have a problem, you can actually call us and talk to somebody on the phone.
Definitely
you're not put into an email and hope and fingers crossed you're going to get back to, they're going to get back to you.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say too, is that, these entity accounts that are getting approved in 5 business days, competitive exchanges are, I don't know if they're not figuring out how to support these type of accounts, but they're taking, as Brendan mentioned, 2 to 3 months to be able to get a response. These poor people are stuck in limbo and don't know what's going on. And, we developed this relationship with RocketDollar where, they help you open these LLC accounts. And then if there's an interest in trading crypto, we begin the onboarding process. They're sent a DocuSign packet. They complete the DocuSign packet. and then they're off to the races. And then also with the entity accounts, which is different than our self-directed accounts, is that they actually can do withdrawal and deposit to crypto.
Okay. So do you guys, I guess this just automatically brings up to my attention. So a lot of hexagons, when they're taking profits on their hex, now obviously it's going to be a little different because you got different rules, regs, and things you got to follow with RocketDollar if you're going to have a crypto IRA. Or based IRA, I should say. I shouldn't call it a crypto IRA. It's probably the incorrect vernacular. But with a lot of people taking profits with Hex right now, the cheapest way tends to be at this point in time to Uniswap from Hex into USDC and then cashing it out via Coinbase because there's no fee to cash out the stable coin. So what do your guys' fees look like, and what does that structure look like, and how easy is that for someone to go straight to their bank account when they want to take profits?
I'll answer quickly for RocketDollar, and then I'll let John talk about the exchange.
Okay.
So RocketDollar, we've been really big about flat fee pricing. So, you know, a lot of these direct custodians, they really directly integrate with a custodian, and that's what you get. You can't access anything other than that. And you can't move any crypto off the exchange in that retirement account. It's kind of captive there. Sometimes those partner exchanges can charge really high fees. I've heard as high as 8% when you join the company, which frankly infuriates people. But there was very few options just 2 to 3 years ago. So people were taking 8% haircuts on Bitcoin and some other assets just to get into some of the major coins. And then they would get trade fees on top of that. Then they get AUM fees and asset fees. And I am just now talking about the retirement company. I am not talking about whatever the exchange's standard fee is. So RocketDollar has been a big proponent of flat fee pricing. Our accounts start at $360 to open it. We have a $50 discount code we can discuss later today. And then
I'll share that with you, Hexagons. It's in the link. The link is in the description below, but I'll also put it in the chat for you guys here soon.
Yeah. So if you're interested in a RocketDollar account, Hex HEX will get you $50 off an account when you join. So $360 to open an account. We'll get $50 knocked off of that, and then $15 a month flat fee pricing. A big part about RocketDollar is with the style of our accounts is we are not the crypto exchange. Why should we be adding on to centralized exchange fees if you're already paying one at ErisX? Honestly, a lot of those fees have been really obscene. We've explored, launching a direct product like that integrated with an exchange. But if we launch one, we've been very dissatisfied with the fee competitiveness out there. A lot of people come to us purely because we have that flat fee pricing that the entity IRA, the LLC IRA provides, and the amount of freedom that it provides after you acquire your crypto. So John, you can.
Yeah, I was just speaking of fees. The USD USDC USD pair is free on ErisX too. So if you want to transaction it's free. The IRA, if you're participating in an IRA account, it's 50 basis points for the transaction if you're adding in removing. If you're to open up a direct member account outside of your IRA to trade crypto, we have something unique in that regard, that if you're being passive and you're adding liquidity to the book and somebody's hitting your bid or lifting your offer, we actually pay you 1 basis point credit back. And that's actually done in real time on the transaction itself. And then if you're removing liquidity, it's a 10 basis point charge. So if you're going to look at competitive exchanges, we actually have an exchange competitor tool on our platform. I think that the base level on Coinbase, if you're going to be a DM, a direct member outside of an IRA account, it starts at 50 basis points.
Well, that's fantastic. So I guess that brings up a lot of questions, but I don't know if it's relevant to this conversation at this point in time. So with ErisX.
Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention also. We don't charge for custody. We don't charge. There's no hidden fees or anything. It's purely a transaction fee too.
Okay. I myself am going to have to do some more researching on your guys' exchange. Now, you guys going to offer, or can you, through a roundabout offering in some way or another, offer Hex?
I would love to.
The exchange.
I would love to structure a conversation with our COO and see if it's possible. We do have a coin listing policy that we'd actually have to work through to see if Hex could be listed. Also has to go to our risk committee and to be reviewed as well. But I'm open to having a dialogue and see if we can make something work.
Okay, that would be great, because I can probably get you 30,000 hexagons right now and probably 60,000 Poseidons once Pulse is available. So that'd be willing to clutter up your spam and your inbox as far as customer support and how we can get listed on there, because there's no more transparency than what we have on the blockchain with Hex. So
I would love to open up the dialogue.
We'd love to talk. So we'll do that. We'll open that discussion in the back channels, because I think there's a lot of people. So most of our onboards at this point in time. So there's two types of onboards that we need right now at this moment. Number one, we've got people who are outside the crypto space. Too many people have bags already within crypto. Trying to convince them to dump their bag to come to a new coin is a very difficult task right now. Everyone's kind of got their own maximalist view on the coin that they hold because they hold that bag. So our greatest success has been new people to come into what we call no coiners and bringing them into the space. People who have never invested in digital assets before are buying Hex for their very first coin. And so it'd be really nice to have a very seamless place for them to do that, where we could literally just say, hey, here's the exchange, ACH draft money from your bank account right into this exchange, buy that Hex and let's go. And then the second side of I think it's the other side of the same coin, are those who are, especially like my mom. She's a boomer. She's right at the point where she's getting ready to retire. She's like, I don't know if I want to, take anything out of retirement or put additional income into buying these cryptos and then having to worry about learning to hold them and things of that nature. So that's where I see Rocketdollar and them having the ability through ErisX to invest some of their IRA/401k money that they've already got and rolling it into a product like what Rocketdollar using the ErisX exchange. So I would definitely like to talk to you about that going forward. But
look forward to taking it offline.
So I'm gonna go ahead. Did you had some things that you wanted to show people, correct?
Yeah, I'd love to kind of give Brendan, did you want to go first, or should I?
Yeah, I just got the diagram that I'd love to show, and then what I really love is John's team. They got a lot of experience, and there's a lot of that trading experience that he can showcase. It's just shown, hey, this isn't their first rodeo. They've built stuff in other assets. They're building it in crypto now. That's what I really love about ErisX is I can send a hardcore trader there, or I can send a casual trader that wants to take advantage of that support, and they both find a lot of value from that experience.
Just to add on what Brendan's saying and expand upon it, what's different with ErisX is we come from the capital markets. I've got 20 years. My CEO spent time and leading the prime department prime brokerage department at Barclays, at Deutsche Bank. He's worked at Citadel. My CTO actually created the matching engine for the CME. The COO has launched probably 12 to 14 different exchanges at different points. I've launched probably 8 myself. So we come from capital markets, and that's why we're trying to take that approach and applying it to the exchange versus, some of these technology companies that are focused on technology but don't understand the trading element and market regulation.
Yeah, I see that as a good marriage where you guys are working with experience. You guys have the chops and you got the pedigree to be able to put these two together. I think that's great. Yeah, go ahead and hit that share button, Brendan, and I'll be happy to put that up on screen for everybody because I'm interested in looking at this infographic you got for us here.
All right, Chrome tab, here we go.
I'm going to go ahead and bring up Toby Wan. If you wouldn't mind turning on your camera, that'd be awesome, buddy. This is the gentleman that made this meeting happen, so all of you Hexagons know Toby Wan by this point.
Hey, Toby.
Hey, guys. How's it going? Sorry for the late join. Had a little bit of a family emergency, and I
family first
started
brother.
watching.
No need to family first. No need to explain. It's all good, brother. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And something I was talking about earlier, it's probably because of Toby Wan, but we've had a lot of customers asking about Hex over the Rocketdollar phone line over the last 3 to 6 months. So I think just as part of the community getting the word out there. And often our crypto community is driving Rocketdollar. Hey, what partnerships do we need? Where should we be? Where should we be educating? Our crypto customers will call us with, hey, have you heard of Hex? I'd really love to talk about more to you and all the people trying to invest in it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like I was really glad KNTX was able to bring you guys on. Something I've been trying to get together for a while. I know I tried to connect John with, and John, nice to see you in the flesh there.
Likewise.
And John was instrumental in helping me get things set up right before the sacrifice ended. So we were kind of hustling.
It was tight, but we got in there.
It was tight, but we got it in. So I had a great experience. John Wick actually was the one that first introduced me to RocketDollar. Brendan and then Chris Palmisano were very helpful in getting that set up. And those were the things that I really enjoyed about it, because as opposed to dealing with like an institutional account with Coinbase, which I'm still waiting for, which I tried to initiate around the same time I started with ErisX, which I believe was back in July. It's just so easy, and you actually have a real life person that you can talk to, and the customer service is fantastic. And they really do a great job of explaining things. The fees are reasonable. And I was able to actually convert my simple IRA over to a Roth and then transfer that to RocketDollar. And then via ErisX, I was able to get that all in hex. So now I've got a self-directed Roth IRA that's staked out for 10 years for when I'm able to touch that when I'm 60. And
only 10 years? I thought you were a real Hexakin, Toby Wan. Where's the 5555 at, man?
Well, I've got plenty of other 5555s, but I just thought, for this, it would be fun to do.
You just wanted to pay taxes on those ones?
When the IRA's ready to roll, then I would be too. And I was actually able to sacrifice a fair amount as well, so I'll have Pulse dropped into that same account, which is super exciting. But yeah, I'm eager to sit and learn some more about all of the above with you guys. And John, I hope at some point you can meet up with Richard. I think I might have heard KNTX touch on it a bit about potentially you guys listing Pulse and or Hex on your exchange at some point. I know that when we had spoken a while back that you had expressed an interest in Pulse in particular. Yes. So I'd love to see how that progresses.
Perfect. I agree. I look forward to having a conversation outside of this and also touching base with Richard.
Yeah. We'll when this conversation's over, we'll touch in the back channels again to make connection to not only Richard. I know he's extremely busy right now. We have a documentary team that's flying out to meet with him in an undisclosed portion of the globe. He is neck deep in development right now, so there's a lot of it's really difficult to get a hold of that guy, and even if you can just connect with him for a quick moment, he doesn't have a lot of time for everybody. But I can put you in contact with other members of the community that I'm in direct contact with that have some not just infinite knowledge of the product that is Hex, but also they can fill you in on any of the information that you guys need to clarify whether it fits with ErisX. So, and then you let us know what we need to do to convince your board that that's the right way to go, and we'll definitely do that. So without further ado, Brendan, I know I kind of held you up here, so go ahead, sir.
Sure. Yeah, and I just want to jump in. How does someone actually acquire Hex through both a RocketDollar account and ErisX? So a little bit about me. We'll just skip over that for time. But what does RocketDollar actually offer? We offer a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, and a solo 401k, all of which can invest in crypto and other assets. The solo 401k tends to be just for people who are self-employed. I'm not going to go into it today, but feel free to call. You can save quite a bit of retirement money into that. Then you can put that into stocks or crypto or real estate, or like that. So the term self-directed, a lot of people think like, oh, I can just pick my own stocks for that. But what's popular in my side of the industry is a self-directed IRA is typically one you could put in a non-Wall Street type asset, whether that be real estate, cryptocurrency, private startup stock like Peter Thiel, Facebook, and PayPal before it IPOs, or even someone down the street like a business owner that you see maybe starting up a new business. Maybe it's a brick and mortar, maybe it's a startup. You can actually go from your retirement account, hand that person a check to maybe a blockchain startup that you believe in, and directly invest in that company. And all of this is to basically shield you from taxes, get that same benefits that a traditional IRA, which is taxed at retirement at ordinary income rates, or a Roth IRA, which as long as you keep assets in there for 5 years, is totally tax-free. Solo 401k can do both of those types of, it can do traditional or Roth type contributions. Okay, so a big diagram here, as a lot of steps going on, but what RocketDollar does is we create the stuff in purple on the left here. We create an IRA, just like everyone is always used to at TD Ameritrade or Fidelity. What's different about that IRA, let's see, can I blow this up? Is it good enough to see, or is it a little too small?
It's great for those on desktop. On mobile, it's going to be a little bit difficult to see. I don't know if it's possible. Let me see here. I can actually just take us off the screen. It blows it up just a little bit more.
Okay, thank you. What RocketDollar does is we make the stuff in purple here. We make an IRA just like you're always used to. Then we make a Colorado LLC and a bank account. And why this is so interesting to a lot of people, it has many names. We call it like you can bring your own deal or bring your own crypto platform. You can checkbook IRA, bank control IRA. What's different about this is you do not have to ask the custodian for permission every single time you move money. You basically have full control of this fiat bank account to send that money anywhere you want to go. So where a lot of hexagons have been sending that money is ErisX with a crypto LLC trading account. And what this LLC does, you have the manager of the LLC, can really put your crypto on any platform. You can move it to different platforms. You can even move it off the exchange. There's, a decent amount of rules about what you can and can't do. You really cannot mix this crypto ever with personal crypto. Has to stay retirement only crypto. So even if you've worked with Aerosex, you've worked with exchange before, you make a totally fresh account with your LLC. And why so many people are excited about this, very few other platforms have any flexibility to take crypto off the exchange. Very few have access to so many of the crypto world out there. The worldview of crypto is so small with the standard crypto IRA. Gives you a couple options, you're done. You can trade in and out at spot, and that's it. Usually even staking is impossible. So for $360 and $15 a month, and then with that hex discount code there, you get this entire structure for $15 a month. That is extremely price competitive. It's about a third of a lot of our competition out there. A lot of people would go to lawyers and create this structure themselves. It's painful. It's tough. You got to pay a lawyer. You got to create your own LLC. RocketDollar does that all for you, so you don't have to worry about that. What this does, this bank account, you could send that, you could write a check to a blockchain startup. You could go send this to a real estate transaction. But what most people are interested in is they want to talk to ErisX and they want to get an exchange account open. So first step, open a RocketDollar account. Second step, fund that RocketDollar account with fiat dollars, maybe from an old IRA. Most people have an old IRA sitting around, maybe at Fidelity or ADP, Mass Mutual, you name it. You've got an old 401k and an old job that you might have forgotten about, probably sitting in S&P 500, and maybe even some bond funds. So we help you bring that over into the structure, get that into that fiat bank account ready to go anywhere. Then our crypto customers will open an ErisX exchange account. They're interested in trading crypto. Why ErisX has been a huge winner is their service and opening an account in 5 days. I've just talked about, a lot of complex stuff. If you go to the Coinbase institutional desk, like Toby Wan was saying, it's been months. People aren't getting good answers. They're getting frustrated. They don't get their account approved. They're like, where's your corporate board of registrars? Just stuff that slows people down, gets people gummed up. I've talked to a few people even the last week. I just said, look, please stop trying. You're beating your head against the wall. Just open at ErisX. You can be trading in a few days from now. And with an LLC, this allows so much more freedom, is that as long as you can prove that the asset is owned by your IRA, you can basically own any asset like Hex, even if RocketDollar custodian, hasn't heard about it before. So hexagons were already going out and attempting to go acquire Hex, before I was even aware of it. They have the structure, they have the IRA, and completely independent, they can go out and try and acquire cryptos, and they don't have to sit through and kind of look, what is the approved list of cryptos that RocketDollar allows? If they can get it through their IRA, they can go own it through their IRA. So I just took this structure here. This is from the Hex website,
Mhm.
the structure that everyone's really used to. And what I kind of want you to focus on is every hexagon already knows this structure already. And trying to make that easier by getting listed on exchange. I think that's great. Talk to John, keep talking to John about that. But what RocketDollar is doing is you start off with a centralized exchange. You can purchase Bitcoin, or in this case, Ethereum, and we are empowering you to enter the crypto world after that. Once we get you into the crypto world, you obviously know what's going on. You understand the crypto world. We are handling your retirement account, a traditional or Roth IRA, so you do not have to pay taxes on that account on a yearly basis. Now, I want to stop for questions here. You'd purchase ETH, make a unique MetaMask account, then you'd be able to purchase Hex. Any kind of questions popping up in the structure right now? Because I know it's kind of a doozy.
So no issues with using a hardware wallet. I see cold or hot storage solution, so you could use a hardware wallet using MetaMask as the user interface for it. No problem
so the one thing, and I have some slides in it, I don't need to go too complex on it, is that the IRS, they sometimes don't like people keeping assets at home. So they used to get really pissed at gold investors for keeping gold in home safes, which was happening very often through IRAs, and they kind of brought the hammer down on people, that really were being negligent about it or not being honest about it. So you just got to know you can use a hardware wallet. There's nothing saying you can't use it. However, I would buy it with the IRA. I would not use any old device that you have around. And if you use it, you just got to know it is new to the IRS as they're figuring out this space. So when your crypto's on ErisX, ErisX is basically helping prove, hey, this LLC owns this crypto. When your crypto is off at MetaMask, currently, there's nothing that says, hey, this is an LLC account at MetaMask. I've talked to MetaMask, and a lot of the community has made their voices really clear. Hey, we would love to, trade a little bit of privacy, but basically make a MetaMask LLC account and tie this directly and clearly to an LLC. So they're aware of that issue. They want to work on it. They're excited about people using crypto IRAs and using these different Ethereum protocols. So their team is aware. I would tell the Hex community, continue being vocal about that. Communicate with MetaMask about that, because this LLC account is what gets you into Hex now. As Toby-Wan was saying, he wanted to get into Hex very quickly. If he would have just waited until Hex was on a established IRA exchange, he might have been waiting years. This allows him to get at the assets as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss this later, but I know there's going to be an argument made that, well, just because I have a hardware wallet doesn't change the fact that I still have the seed phrase that I created for MetaMask, and that technically my funds aren't on the hardware wallet itself. It's still on the blockchain, so I still don't have custody of my own coin.
Yeah, so there's plenty of debate we could get into. I would just say is that with this account, you're trying to shield yourself from taxes. You kind of got to play the IRS's game, so to speak. And just at all times, I tell people, if you can't prove this is your retirement crypto, don't do it. If you have to keep good records, you have to use the appropriate services, keep it simple. Like, let's say if you had to pull it up tomorrow and prove that your Hex was owned by your IRA, you would want a nice, easy path to be able to prove that. Don't use any blockchain obscuring services or something like that.
Yeah.
You want a nice, clear record of everything you've done, because the reason you're in here is you don't want to pay taxes. You don't want a small mistake or not keeping good records to ever get you back in that situation.
Well, that'll be a further conversation we'll have to have with John then, if Eris ever accepts Hex as a fiat on-ramp. It'd be nice to be able to have the discussion of whether we can still be able to stake that Hex on the ErisX platform. I don't know if there'd be a way just to tie it into the API of the go.hex.win or go.hex.com /stake tab, or how we would do that, but that's another discussion for another day. But I love that you guys have, for now, we still have a way to do this. We still have a way to get it into Hex, be an IRA that is compliant with the IRS, and we have a fiat on ramp that's willing to do an LLC, or what would you what do you guys call that?
An IRA LLC is a really common term for it.
Yeah, but what is the name, the type of account for an entity versus an individual through ErisX? What would?
It's a direct member versus entity account, DM or entity.
Perfect. Perfect. So the solution is already there.
Yeah, it's actually, it sounds complicated, and there are quite a few steps, but like Brendan was saying, it's like if you just keep it very, very basic and you just have a brand new MetaMask account. I even set up a brand new email account just to be on the safe side. So all of my correspondence is from a new email account, and directly from SunTrust Bank, I believe is who RocketDollar uses, to ErisX. Bought my Ethereum, was able to get purchase my Ethereum and transfer it off in the same day to my MetaMask. Was able to do my transaction there to convert that to Hex, and then the normal routine of how to stake it through go.hex.com was super simple. But it would be interesting to see if there were some other ways to do that if Hex was actually listed. Also, it would be great to be able to buy Hex and then just transfer the Hex into that MetaMask, so we didn't have that extra layer of fees, especially now with the high punitive fees on the Ethereum network.
Absolutely. Well, were there any other infographics, Brendan, that you wanted to share, or?
Yeah, I think I want to let John go. Yeah, basically, we also have a solo 401k that does this. Can go into any of these types of assets. I already talked about the taxes. Just very quickly, I'll go over this. As people ask, like, hey, with what I'm doing with these certain with crypto off the exchange, can I do this? Can I not? And I always say, hey, usually just quick green light, yellow light, red light system. An IRA LLC that accepts a W-9, that's something like ErisX that does that and basically says, hey, this is non-taxable crypto. It's proven definitively it's owned by your IRA in the IRS, in their IRS's terms. I know crypto investors, we love the blockchain network. We just got to know how much is the IRS going to respect certain blockchain records. So what I say is, yellow light, use caution. You just want to be careful. Do this correctly. As Toby once said, this crypto world already. Just keep good records. You want to buy with a clear digital blockchain record. Have an IRA wallet that's just for the retirement account. Because if there's no entity sign up, you need to take measures to prove, hey, this is my IRA's crypto. I'm not suddenly throwing personal accounts into the mix here and the confusion. Physical wallet devices I already kind of covered. Just red light things, do not attempt inside of a retirement account. Stick this in your taxable side. A blockchain obscuring service. If you're off the exchange, you need that blockchain record. You do not want to lose it. Privacy coins, again, no blockchain, less blockchain records. NFTs, the IRS has never really liked collectibles inside of a retirement account. So you really should not attempt that inside of a RocketDollar retirement account. All right, I'm done. I can let John go here.
Okay.
A lot of
That's
stuff.
Good to know.
Those are some of the rules people should know before they jump into.
Yeah.
Lots of details. The one thing I would like to add, though, and that was a real plus for me when John Wick first started talking to me about it, is the classic DeFi thing of not your keys, not your coins. So that was a real selling point to me, is that I've got my own MetaMask, my own seed phrase. I don't need to give that to anybody. And then Brendan, you could probably talk about the reporting requirements as far as, I believe it's annual that you're supposed to give a valuation. Is that correct?
Yeah, so once a year, you need to value all crypto that's either on an ErisX account or off the exchange somewhere. So the IRS has one very simple question. It's actually a very easy reporting. How much in USD dollar value is in this IRA? So we have an investment tracker that people can put in their investments. They can be, basically just, we need the exact value of the IRA. Past that, we're good to go. That's then reported to the IRS. That says nothing about crypto, says nothing about Hex or ErisX. It simply says value of the IRA, $25,000 or $6,000. And then we'll update that on a yearly basis.
Okay.
Yeah, and we provide monthly updates to RocketDollar too on your position and the increase in value.
Okay. Right on. Yeah. John, I think you had some slides to show as well. I'd be
Yeah.
happy to put those up
Perfect.
here.
Let's see here.
I don't want to keep you guys too long. I know we kind of last minute agreed that yes, this time still worked for everybody. I'm glad that Toby was able to meet up with us
Perfect.
here.
Can you see my screen?
I sure can.
All right, let's dig in.
All
So I'll kind of
right.
walk you through quick history of ErisX. So company was founded 10 years ago, and the original investors had come up with an interest rate swap futures product. And with futures in the US, you need to work with the designated contract market, which is an application you have to file with the CFTC, which allows you to operate a futures exchange. But to be able to execute and clear the futures transactions are two different things. So you actually need to have a DCO, a derivative clearing organization, to be able to clear the futures trades. Well, it was set up rather inefficiently because ErisX was executing these futures trades, but they were using the CME because they held the DCO to clear the futures transactions. Fast forward, they end up licensing the IP to the CME, and then they're left holding this futures exchange medallion. And the original investors, some of them like Cumberland and CTC and some others, they had already been trading crypto, and they recognized the fact that for the space to evolve and therefore to be maturity, there would need to be regulation and compliance to be able to handle that. So what they did was they first built out this great cap table. Cap table, and I'll touch on that in a second, is with industry people that represent miners, professional traders, market makers, exchange, and retail. They brought the cap table together. April 2019, we actually launched our spot market. And then a couple months later, we actually got approved by the CFTC to operate, or I should say, clear futures transactions. So we actually got approved for our DCO. That's really a unique position that puts us in, because if you're a trader and you're looking to trade spot, you're going to look at maybe an ErisX, a Kraken, a Gemini, or a Coinbase. If you want to trade futures, you're going to look at, let's say, a backed, which is physically settled, or a CME, which is cash settled. We're actually unique in the sense that we actually marry both of them. So we have spot trading on the platform and futures trading on the platform. And then to take it a step further, at the end of 2020, I should say beginning in September, October, we actually started working on our margin application with the CFTC. It's been submitted since, I would say, December 2020. And I mean, this is a huge undertaking. You're looking at 70 plus policies and procedures, 3,000 pages in the rule filing. And the regulator basically said, you know, we wanted to almost look at doing it piecemeal and getting their opinion. They were like, no, submit the whole application and we'll do a review. And since that time, over the last 9-10 months, there's been a constant dialogue with the regulator. So with that being said, in December of 2019, we launched our own proprietary matching engine technology. We put up our first physically settled futures trade. And then we proceeded to, over the last year and a half, go after all the money transmitter licenses, including the US territories and the New York BIT license. We've got 51 of them. And I would say since we got approved from the New York BIT license, over the last, I'd say 18 months or so, maybe only 1 or 2 other firms have actually been approved for that BIT license. And we were also the first exchange to be approved for the ETH futures, which the CME piggybacked on and took advantage of our approval on. And with that being said, I'm going to scroll ahead here. So where do we define ourselves in this space? You know, I'm an early trader of crypto. I've been trading crypto for 5 or 6 years. I remember going to Binance. I remember going to some of these foreign exchanges, not feeling too comfortable that what could happen, and there's this void. And there was this, we like to call crypto 1.0, where you're trading at these offshore unregulated exchanges. But for us to take it to the next level, it's about these margin products. It's about creating derivatives and ETFs, which we're seeing with Fidelity creating or launching or filing, I should say, their own ETF. You know, ourselves going out and getting the DCO. We see the growth in the futures products. And that's kind of where our approach has been. We think that for the adoption and the maturity to take place, you're going to look at these more advanced products and greater adoption through maybe ETFs, through equities. This is a reflection of the cap table, which is a great cap table we've built out. It's got firms like Susquehanna and Virtu, which is a publicly traded prop firm, Bitmain, largest miner in the world, DCG, the creator of the GBTC, and also their trading desk, Pantera, CBOE, CME, and NASDAQ. But the piece that, based on my previous experience, the piece that really got me excited was knowing that Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, and TradeStation were also investing, because it really is important to build out a great ecosystem. You don't want SIG and Virtu trading with each other all day. You want retail participation, because those participants are actually going to drive price improvement and great execution quality. These are the coins. They're limited right now to Bitcoin Ether, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and USDC. We actually have about 12 coins that are teed up for listing over Q4. But it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the conversation about Gensler and how he's been very vocal about his approach and how he's looking at the space. And it's actually forced us to slightly pause and pump the brakes for a second, just to see how the regulator is going to kind of let the dust settle. I mean, as of right now, Avi and Link are ready to go. And like I said, there's several others right behind it.
Okay, so we'll get to that later. Go ahead.
Okay.
Continue. Go ahead and continue.
Sure. So, we've talked about the high onboarding and operating standards. We take regulation very seriously. KYC, AML. We've got the DCO, the DCM, 51 money transmitters throughout the U.S., including the New York BIT license. I mentioned earlier that our exchange rule filing for spot and futures are both with the CFTC. It's just a recap on this slide. Just another recap too, 24/7 trading on the exchange. Also, I talked about how you can actually get somebody on the phone. Our market operations people are available 24/7. And if there's a problem or trading issue or a question you have about using the trading front end, they'll be able to answer the phone 24/7. Jump ahead here. I just wanted to give like an example or kind of a view or lens into where ErisX falls into the other venues or broker dealers or trading platforms. We kind of straddle retail, institutional, where you look at retail like a TradeStation or Robinhood, they're pure retail, and retail direct like a Bitstamp or Gemini and so forth in FTX US. Regulatory overview, I've already touched on. Just another slide to example. We've also gotten approved for a SOC 2 Type 2, so we take security very seriously at ErisX.
Okay, I'm very familiar with the SOC 2 compliancy.
RocketDollar's got it as well. It's
okay.
Quite an undertaking for the team.
it really is. Yeah, it's a big deal. People don't understand. That's where we have a community node that's about to be hosted for Pulse on a SOC 2 compliant.
Yeah, I would say we must have spent 3 or 4 months prepping for it, and then when the review happened, it took another 3 months as well. Just a map of all the states that are covered. Virginia has just been slow to approve the application. It's more of a manual process with that state, so that's the only one that's pending right now.
And then great for customers, John. I know I always hear from people from New York or Washington, and now for some other exchanges, it's like 5, 6 other states. What I really love is I don't need to worry where someone is. Virginia, they're working on, obviously, but ErisX can serve them. I've seen so many New York customers left out from other exchanges.
Yep. So Freddie quote, sorry, brother, you're going to have to wait for this.
So the next slides are just kind of giving an example of what you would expect once you become onboarded at ErisX. Once you've gone through the KYC AML process, you get access to our exchange member portal. The member portal is pretty straightforward, shows you your positions and transactions. If you need to get a statement downloaded, you can do that. And then we offer 2 ways for the participant or the member to trade on ErisX. One is the quick trade widget. So in this example, maybe I don't want to look at the complicated front end trading UI. I want something quick and easy. With this, you put in $1,000. It tells you how much BTC you would purchase. You hit buy, boom, you've acquired that amount of BTC. In this scenario, it would have been 0.0178 based on what it was trading at the time. It's also available on mobile. It's easy. We don't have an app, unfortunately, but it's sized perfectly to an iPhone or a Droid.
Okay.
And this is actually the full-blown trading UI. Instead of looking at this slide, I'm going to jump over to looking at it real time. So this is actually our market for Bitcoin in real time. These are live bids and offers.
Ooh, look
on the
at
book.
that trash just dump. Look at it dump, guys.
Huge
what a trash dump coin.
It took a
The
beating
dumpster
while we
fire
started
of a
after we
coin.
started the call, and somebody down here is very happy that they got their transaction down there.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yep. So this is the order book, pretty straightforward. If I clicked on an offer, it's going to kind of auto-populate the transaction ticket. There's your bids, charting, time and sales, trade history, I should say, and then working orders and executed orders would be down here. Let's jump back into it. So we already walked through there. Also, which is a little bit unique to us too, we've actually created algos. So if somebody's interested in doing pegging on the platform, where they want an order to move up and down with an offset, they can set that into the platform as well. Just additional screens that if you're on the mobile device, this is the view that you would see for executing trades. It's a mirror image of what you would see.
I don't know if I would spend a whole lot of time trying to convince the Hexicans how great your trading platform is, because we're not traders by nature. We are hodlers and stakers by nature. So,
oh, listen, I would say I'm going to stop sharing at this point. Can you turn off?
Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah, perfect. I would say that we're not trading front end, experts ourselves. This is just a tool for those people to get in and execute their orders. To be very honest with you, we've taken an intermediary approach. And what does that mean? That means that I would rather lean on an Ameritrade, a Fidelity, or somebody else to be able to execute the orders, because they're going to have the customer service, they're going to have the tools, they're going to have the infrastructure to support it. To be very honest with you, who would have ever thought that Schwab would be acquiring Ameritrade last year? Who would have ever thought that E-Trade would be moving over to Morgan Stanley? And I think that what's great about the team that we have here is we're actually able to pivot. How do we pivot? We created a trading UI, a quick trade widget, and that basically opened up access to the IRA community, opened up access to the direct members and retail participants. Just another angle or avenue for them to be able to trade on Aerosex.
I like that. Quite honestly, most Hexicans are going to be wanting your spot USDC. That's really where most. But I'm curious, from an exchange point of view, where is the profit model for that? Since it's a no fee in or out with USDC.
USDC is not, but for the other coins right now, we've mentioned if you're trading in your IRA, it's a 50 basis point charge. If you decide to come direct, it's a 10 basis point charge for removing liquidity. And then what's great is if your community is interested in posting liquidity, I'm actually going to rebate you 1 basis point in those transactions. I mean, how often do you go to an exchange that's actually going to pay you to trade?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's pretty interesting. I like that. I like that you guys might have a comprehensive solution for this. I wanted
to take it. One other thing, just if somebody wants to be more complicated and take it a step further, they can easily connect into one of our APIs too. If you have a developer, if you want to be more advanced, we have Fix, WebSocket, and REST as well.
Okay. Well, right on, guys. Well, I appreciate it. I don't know if there's any questions here. Oh, there is one that I did. So if you guys don't mind giving me 5 minutes to ask some of these questions, there was a few, like one that was brought up by Crypto Learner. Is staked hex also count? I mean that they aren't visible in the wallet. So how do you record that? Do you just use like the API or like a staker app or something like that that shows what the current value of the stake is for hex for RocketDollar when you're reporting that every year?
Yeah. So if you have any asset that's like earning any interest or staking reward, you would record the full value of the asset plus interest. So, or anything on that. So if it is staked, what is the staking term for the hex that we're looking at? How many years?
Well, in this case, Toby Wan said he did 10 years.
Okay. So, you still should be reporting the full value of the hex plus staking. I mean, you're not paying any taxes on that. But one thing you don't want to see in the IRS is like when someone issues a loan for, just think an old school standard loan. I'm going to hand a loan to some guy to go build a house. Your account, when you report it to the IRS, if you loaned out $100,000 and you got $5,000 of interest, you don't report $5,000. You report $105,000.
Okay.
You're still going to want to report the value of that hex because basically who are you communicating with? You're communicating to the IRS. You're showing I have an asset in the IRA and I'm also getting some staking reward on top of that. So you want to make sure both parts are represented in the total value of the IRA.
And I understand where that question's coming from, because with Hex, you're literally burning your Hex in exchange for T shares. So as far as the blockchain is concerned, you have no Hex in your wallet. Like, it is worth nothing. But there is a way to track that through the smart contract and through some of the APIs that shows what the value of your principal plus earned interest to that point of time of date.
Okay, and forgive my ignorance because I have to learn about so many different altcoins from our customers. But are you getting that? Is that Hex totally burned after 10 years and you're never getting it back?
No. It will, when you remint it at the very end, you remint your principal plus your interest earned up to that point.
Yeah, so I think you should be including that in your value of your IRA, just so there's some communication of, look, there's an asset, there's something going on with it, but the total value of my IRA is that value will be coming back to my IRA.
Yeah, my understanding from talking to Chris about it early on, and I'm not sure if he remembers this because it was really early in the discussion, is that when you stake the Hex, you burn it at that point. You're basically like a placeholder. It's kind of like the actual certificate of deposit for like an institutional, traditional CD. You get T shares in lieu of the Hex that you stake, depending on the length of time. You don't actually hold any Hex at that it's been burned, and then when your stake ends, you remint the Hex and the yield from the interest that you'd had at that point. So basically kind of that intermediate step, because you're not at the end of your stake yet. So each per annum at the end of each year, you would have to calculate, like KNTX was saying, you would have to calculate, what your principal is and what the interest is at that point and what the market value would be. However, you wouldn't actually have access to try to sell that, and it would not be reflected in your MetaMask. There'd be another way to reflect that, but that would be the annual valuation. And
the reason why is you want what the Iras is looking at is they're hopefully looking at a valuation of your IRA. Hopefully it's going up. If things are going well, it's going up. What you don't want is it's going well, and then you start staking, dive bombs, and then all of a sudden shoots back up 10 years later to some astronomical amount that's way different. What the IRS wants to see, what does a standard retirement account look like? Standard movement going up over time. So when you think about that calculation, you don't want to suddenly leave out assets that will be coming back to the IRA, because if the IRS looks at your history, that's accurate. You want to look standard and normal. The Hex is coming back to your account.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't want a dive bomb and a shoot up would look very odd to the IRS reporting.
Exactly.
And that might actually get more questions than you want to bother with.
Yeah, I would recommend you guys, if you guys go with a solution like this, that you're making sure that every year you're giving them, like what the staker app, when you're monitoring it on your staker app, what that value is, principal plus interest earned up to that date. That's how I would address that going forward. There was another question that someone had. I'm behind in the stream. Can you put the crypto you own already in the IRA?
No, unfortunately. So
depends on the account.
In that case, do you liquidate and then buy back in through your entity? Is that how you would do that then?
Yeah. So you cannot contribute. Unfortunately, the IRS does not let you put crypto directly into an IRA. So this is going to have to come in fiat first, and then you get in the on-ramp with ErisX. Once you're in the crypto world, you can transact in crypto as much as you can. But one thing people ask about quite a bit is, hey, I have a lot of crypto. I'm paying a lot of taxes. I want to hide that in an IRA. Unfortunately, you cannot put that crypto inside of an IRA because that is called self-dealing. Think of your IRA and you as almost like two separate people. Your IRA's got some crypto. You got some crypto. If you cross the wires like Ghostbusters, it's going to hell to pay. Things are going to get real bad with the IRS. So you come in fiat, come in with a sliver of your retirement account, whatever you want makes sense to diversify. And then once you're in the crypto world, you can swap crypto as much as you want, but it's going to have to be new, fresh dollars. Cannot be crypto you already own in your personal accounts.
Yeah, and just to expand on what Brendan was saying. So if you already have an IRA account and you have coin at a different exchange, we do give the entity accounts the ability to transfer that over to ErisX so they can withdraw and deposit in the entity accounts. But you have to have the account first.
If it's in an IRA already,
yes,
there are ways to get it over.
Okay.
And but if it's not, so some IRA custodians, frankly, you don't want them handling your crypto because they're so old school, they just don't understand it. I'd be fine with ErisX handling my IRA crypto, moving it, pulling it from another exchange. If you go to an IRA custodian and you ask them, hey, can you transact my crypto? They're not, some of them don't know what wallets are. Some of them have no idea what hex is. Frankly, you don't want them handling that. So most transfers come into RocketDollar as cash. We do a full cash transfer. Then you're in the crypto world. Then you can start moving that anywhere. And you can actually move if they're both in the name of your entity. You can do what John's saying. You can pull crypto from one part of your IRA to another. So some of our customers will move crypto to different exchanges or different areas.
Yeah. Okay. That's great to know. Can you touch base one more time on what types of IRAs are supported?
Yeah.
Can
so
you share that one screen share with us
Yeah,
again?
let me pull that up. So our main accounts, what is most popular is a traditional IRA. Let me got to share here. All right.
Because it would be, I'm going to tell you guys from, if you guys ever had the chance to read the book, The Power of Zero, with your taxable bucket, your tax deferred bucket, and your tax-free bucket, and how to get into those buckets. If you guys still make under the threshold of earnings for the Roth IRA, I'm going to highly recommend that people look into going that direction, not necessarily that it fits your investment. You need to talk with Aerosex, you need to talk with RocketDollar, but that would be the way that I would probably be looking to go forward if I still qualified for that myself.
Yeah, and we do inherited IRAs as well, simple IRAs, SEP IRAs, inherited IRAs as well. So the traditional and Roth are by far our most popular products. The solo 401k is third. And we have a few specialty IRAs. If you have a weird one, that you can call us and ask us. We support that.
Something else to add that I think would be useful, particularly for the Hex and Pulse community, especially if John is listing Hex and Pulse at some point, would be the ability within your IRA LLC to trade your Hex for Pulse and vice versa. To be able to do that on his exchange would be fantastic. Also, if it's not available on his exchange, then, of course, you could do that through MetaMask, your unique MetaMask that you have in your IRA LLC. I keep trying to flip it around. Then that way, if you have Hex and you want to try to purchase Pulse when that becomes available, or you have Pulse and you want to try to purchase Pulse on Hex, then you can do that all within that LLC with no issue.
Yep. Perfect. Well, is there anything you guys would like to touch on going forward here?
I did have one more question for John. He had mentioned briefly margin. Is shorting available on your exchange?
No, you got to actually put up the coin. Unfortunately, that's the issue with our futures application, is the fact that right now for the physical and the cash settled futures, especially on the physical, you have to put up a Bitcoin to short it, which doesn't make any sense, unfortunately.
No. Okay.
So that's the big, once we get approved for margin, that's the game changer.
Gotcha. Yeah, because KNTX knows exactly where I was going with that, because we would love to have an opportunity for someone to short Hex so they can just pump the price
and then have to buy more of the coin to settle up their bad trade. We would love to see that on our end.
Exactly.
That would make us very, very happy. Did you want me to put that back up, Brendan?
Yeah, it just has the discount code for $50 off. So I really want to make sure people are aware of that. You can pop that in as Hex when it said, hey, is there a referral code? And our team also sees that. I'll see that pop up, so our team can go, hey, this is a Hexican coming in that, they might want to use ErisX. They might be really into crypto. And you also get $50 off for coming in and joining RocketDollar with that.
Cool.
That's great. So KNTX, thank you so much for putting this together. It's like I wanted to get them in the hands of one of the most financially savvy guys in the Hex community, and you were definitely that.
I'm just a t-shirt ball cap wearing kind of guy, man. I don't know why you put me in that.
It doesn't hide that.
I'm just an entrepreneur that tripped into a couple $1 million thanks to Hex. So that's all I am. So I do appreciate this. So I geek out on the finance talk. So I love this conversation that we've had. I'd love to talk with both of you going further. We are putting together specialty tailored, I should say, trusts for Hexicans that want to take some kind of gain and get some kind of fiat cash cash flow without having to cash out all of their hex going forward, and then minimize their taxes. So I think this might be a strategy that we can implement with what we're already doing. You guys are using a Colorado LLC. We're doing because of how strong trusts are. Now the LLC itself probably doesn't matter if it's Colorado, but the trusts we're setting up are through Nevada because they're the strongest trust structures out there. But we are tying it to a legal entity, and this might be a solution for that. So, and
the nice thing is RocketDollar accounts can invest in almost any opportunity. So some people are gathering crypto directly. Some people are going to trust in other LLCs. With that freedom, you can kind of grab almost any type of asset class.
Cool. That is fantastic. Thanks, John. I really want to discuss this with you going forward, because I know there's people out there discussing putting together their own spot exchanges for being able to purchase Hex and Pulse. And if you can be the first to market on that, there's a lot of business for you guys coming your way if you guys.
No, I look forward to expanding this conversation, including my head of product and COO, and seeing where we could take it from there.
Okay. If you guys wouldn't mind staying on the line for just another couple minutes, I'm going to do the outro here, and I'm going to say goodbye to our guests. Thank you guys so much for joining all of us here in the comment section. I appreciate you guys. And if there's any questions that you have going forward, by all means, you can always look up with the code. I'm going to put that back in here again real quick. It's app.rocketdollar.com/sign up. Coupon is Hex. So put that in the make sure it hits the other side for the chat. But yep, I see it there, and we're good to go, guys. So I appreciate you all, and with that, I will talk to the rest of you Hexicans later.